We are Smooth 98.1, your love music, love live station. 31 minutes past 7 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, a very cold and wet Wednesday morning. The rains are here as far as I'm concerned, hitting us left, right, and center. I hope you're keeping yourselves warm and keeping yourselves safe as well. And I know one thing is going to get you all warmed up this morning is the show you're about to listen to, and that is Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast, where we take a look at the stories in the papers, we get analysis, and of course, your thoughts and contributions as well. So please, you want to join us and send your messages in on WhatsApp. The number is 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 That is the WhatsApp number. We're also streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos on YouTube. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. That is on YouTube. You can leave your comments, your thoughts in the chat box there. I'll take them alongside the WhatsApp messages. Joining me this morning to take a look at the stories and give their analysis as well. Devoe and Lakunle are in the building. Very good morning to you, Devoe.
Good morning, everyone. Morning, Smooth. Lakunle. Morning, world. Lagos, new day, new week. As always, a cool defection.
Lakunle, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Devoe. Good morning, the whole world, wherever it is you're hearing us. It's been a very cold day yesterday, and I hope that the coolness will continue today, a respite from the heat that we've experienced over the last 3 or 4 months.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, talking about the heat, we'll have to bring a little bit of that back as we get into the Punch newspaper this morning. Devoe, let's talk about the NNPCL, where the new management of the NNPCL has fired the managing directors of the 3 refineries under the purview of the NNPCL. Now, the refineries include the Port Harcourt Refining Company, Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company, as well as the Kaduna Refining and Petrochemical Company. Now, some other senior officials of the national oil firm were also asked to leave. Among them is Balawunti, a former chief of the NNP, of the National Petroleum Investment Management Services. That's a subsidiary of the NNPCL. So new management also asked many officials with 1 year to their various retirement dates to also leave. Now, this is coming as the former group managing. So the group chief executive officer, Benny Carey, was relieved of his duties earlier on in this month, April. There's a new board in the helm, and they're already making moves here and there. And is this going to make any change to what's going on? Because we know that the refineries, all the pomp and circumstance about them being brought back on stream, the Port Harcourt refinery, operating at about 40%, and so on and so forth. Where does this move actually take us right now?
Well, I mean, let's just first of all understand what's happening. Yes, everybody was aware when the longest GCO, that's military, was asked to resign recently, which brought in Bio Julari, okay, and a new chairman to the board. Now, and they changed a bunch of the board members made up of what let's call it technocrats. Um, I mean, we know Tinubu has a history of putting in um, people with capacity. He's done that before, and a lot of indicators show that this new board and management, this new board came with some skills because Bio Julari, prior to his appointment as the NNPC GCO, was the also managing director of the Renaissance company, which bought over most of Shell's SPDC's land operations. Okay,
Right.
so the chairman himself was also coming from Total as one of the MDs of their subsidiaries. Now, obviously, given the high goals and targets that they've been given, first of all, to lift crude oil production, which is 95% of our FX, from its paltry below OPEC quota, 1 million. I think we're about around 1.1, 1.2. If you add condensate to that, we're hovering 1.5. But we need to get back in terms of pure crude production to about 2 million, which is literally about doubling the crude oil production at the moment. Yeah. Then they're aiming at 3 million barrels by 2030. However, that's one. Secondly, they're expected to, reform and revamp the downstream sector, okay, in terms of all these. And that's why you can see a direct. Now, look, before I say that, I would say definitely with the new board, they're going to obviously know that even though some people under anonymity said that some of the people they removed were close to the old MD. No, I think old ways have to go, and new ways have to come on board. A lot of the board members, including Bayo and the chairman, are coming with a multinational experience. And what that means is we want to see moves that are made more by merit than political. Even though the president retains his position, because I'm sure many people have forgotten, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the petroleum minister. So he's making, yes,
Well, I mean, that has been denied by, by his,
no, he's the petroleum minister. I mean, that's clear. There's no undisputed. Now, the point here is this. They've gone, first of all, straight to take out the downstream heads. That includes the MDs for the refineries. That's the Kaduna, the Warri, and the Port Harcourt. I think that's Ibrahim Onoja. That's at the Kaduna refinery. Then they've taken out the head of the NAPIMS or NUMS, former NAPIMS. That's Bala Wunti. That's the National Petroleum Investment Management Service. Those are the people who act on behalf of Nigeria on the what they call the JV contracts with all the Shell, Chevron, Mobil, Seplat, and Co. Now, also, they've taken out the head of NNPC trading and put in a lady, Miriam Idrisu, okay, and also improve the senior leadership roles of women in the company, but also adding Obioma Abangu as the chief liaison officer on board matters. Now, I have to say, I'm skeptical about the moves that are being made. And why I say skeptical in the sense that I don't doubt the capacity of the new people being brought on board. But what I want to see is there were some plans that even Medicare had muted out that they never accomplished. First of all, if the refineries obviously are being politicized, now we understand Warri is completely shut down. Port Harcourt is just a figment of imagination, right? If we know that the how much for about 4.5 trillion naira. Are you listening? 4.5 trillion naira has been spent since 2021 when Buhari signed the different turnaround maintenance funding. Okay, if all that money was spent and at the end of the day we didn't get any results, I mean, first of all, EFCC should be at work, right? But we're not even trying to hack on that now. What we're saying is that if they haven't been able to deliver, then we arrive at a point of sale, sell these assets down, and let's get done with it and move into some kind of management contract or a complete sale, let Nigeria make a little cash, and then let's see these private sector refineries, according to the Petroleum Industry Act, let's see them actually work for Nigeria. That's the fulfillment, okay? Then this subsidy that is creeping in and out, which is why some marketers still prefer to import, okay? Even though Dangote is giving them a run for their money at the moment. Right. Let's see those improvements. And so it is possible to get it right. We're way below where we should be as a nation. If you compare us with other nations that are not even producing, we're way behind. I want to not just see, like I said, not just management moves, which is important, but I want to see some of the targets that they have put for this, what do you call it, for this management come to bear. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Devoe, for sharing those thoughts there. Will these moves yield necessary fruit? I guess time will tell, but we're at a point where things need to change and change drastically. All right, Lakunle, let's jump into some matters concerning education this morning, and we're taking this out of The Guardian. The federal government has announced that it is seeking investments of 1.5 trillion naira in the country's medical education within the next 5 years. Now, this is even as it has allocated over 110 billion naira to 18 public universities to boost enrollment into medicine and surgery, pharmacy, dentistry, and nursing programs. Now, this was stated by the Minister of Education, Dr. Tujalausa, yesterday in Abuja during the inauguration of the Ministerial Committee on TED Fund, High Impact Intervention Project for Medical Schools Rehabilitation across the six geopolitical zones. Now, Lakunle, looking at what is going on here, also looking at what's been going on in Nigeria's health sector recently. One could say this is a good move, but you'd also have to ask the question: is throwing more money at the issues the real solution to our problems as regards this?
Thank you, Ayo. So my first thoughts, I probably would dimension this into 3 or 4 lines of argument. The first one being that, like you said, typical of Nigeria, at least since my adult life began, we have a penchant for throwing money at every problem. And over time, it has proven that throwing money at the problem is not the solution to that problem because it persists. We can mention a lot of examples to that effect. Now, this story says that in the next 5 years, we are going to look for 1.5 trillion. That's like an average of 300 billion per year in the next 5 years. It means then that thankfully, it is this same government, hopefully and thankfully, that will still be in position of authority in 5 years' time. So we'll now be able to measure the Minister of Education, whether they're able to find 1.5 trillion in 5 years. 5 years is from now is 2030, right?
2030, yeah.
So we'll now be able to measure. He has set a key performance indicator for himself with these pronouncements at that level. That's 2. Then 3, we have now selected 18 public universities. We are giving them 100 billion. The first question that comes to mind then is that this 110 billion, is it extra to the budget that was approved for the year 2025, or it is, if it is extra, in what ways would it be funded, and in what ways would it be shared within these 18 public universities? I see that universities that are chosen are federal and some state universities. I see the names were mentioned in this report. Now, having said that, this is perhaps the first time also in my adult life that there has been a bold move or a bold pronouncement such as this about anything in our education. Okay, so though of course we know what ASU's been crying out for since 1989, at least as far back as I remember, 1989, about improved funding of universities, improvement of infrastructure, and that was the reason TED Fund was founded. That was the reason for the Education Tax Fund. And when you ask yourself, how has all these extra ministerial agencies, how have they performed since they were set up in the various years they were set up? You can then begin to imagine how woeful their performances had been if this time, after almost 30, 40 years of setting up these things, we're still talking about looking for money to improve our education. Now, the fourth P, the part B of the fourth now goes that who says that when you have this physical infrastructure, then the next question they are asking me, okay, so you are putting physical infrastructure, do you know where you are going to find the students who are going to fill those spaces? What is the intention of these people filling those spaces? So this policy in my mind is not complete on you are able to articulate that, okay, we are increasing this capacity to fund education, medical education by this number, such that it can accommodate X number of additional students, which we know we can find in this age where the popular thing among young people who are eligible for these things is, oh, education help, school na scam. So out of all the people who say all these kind of things, where are you going to find those who will fill these spaces? Now, what is the maybe 2 or 3 days ago, the minister also announced that there was a medical school something, or no school of nursing something, that the registration or admission increased by 115% or so. I can't remember the story clearly, but something about
15,000.
Something like that. Who tells this, the minister or any of us who hears this story, that these 115,000 people are going to get that education in nursing and stay here? because I think one of the things we're trying to have, we're trying to improve on is the number of medical personnel and practitioners who are here, who will stay here. Everyone knows today that out of every 10 people who says they want to go and study nursing or medicine in Nigeria today, the ultimate goal is after I've studied here, I relocate to another place where I'll get better pay.
Well, Lakunle, shouldn't those two things go hand in hand? I mean, on one hand, improve on the number of healthcare personnel we have.
No, I've said that this is the boldest move that I'm impressed about what has been said. And I'm not taking it further that it is not enough to just say, I'm doing this. That it will be nice to also hear the minister in conjunction with Ministry of Health say, in addition to this, then we have the policy to retain these people that we are training because of this improvement will be this, so that we can look forward to the end result from the beginning. You know what? All we hear when motivational speakers speak and say that starts with the end in mind. What is the end of creating this infrastructure? Is not necessarily to train more people. Are you training more people so that they can leave? Or you are training more people so that they can stay here to help us out with our health predicament?
Exactly.
Right. So those are the final questions that comes to mind in all of this. And I also want to use your ability to congratulate all the universities that have been chosen for this project, 18 of them, all across Nigeria: Jos, Zaria, Benin, Ibadan, Imo State University, Benue State University, University of Maiduguri, Bayelsa State University, Yusuf University. And I also want to use the opportunity to also tell the state governors of the states where their universities are not choosing to try and match this aura for aura, steez for steez, money for money, to also improve the quality of the training the medical students in their universities today get, so that at the end of the day, Nigeria is the final beneficiary of anything that comes out of it.
And that is exactly what we want for Nigeria to be at the forefront of enjoying the fruits of quote unquote the labor, if I can put it that way. Right, Devoe, let's step into this day newspaper and talk about some large amounts of money here. Now, the federal, state, and local government shared a total of 4.95 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2025. That's rising by 1.53 trillion naira when compared with the 3.42 trillion naira revenue disbursed within the same period in 2024. This according to this day computation of the Federal Account Allocation Committee. FAC data has shown. Now, of course, we know FAC is the body responsible for the monthly distribution of Nigeria's federally collected revenue to the three tiers of government, mainly from oil exports, taxes, custom duties, VAT, and so on and so forth. But looking at this now, looking at these monies, it has arisen thus. Now, the question you would ask is, where have all the monies gone to?
Yes, before we even get there, I want people to understand that they should take note of how money is being shared amongst government, okay? So we understand who to hold and who to hold accountable. Now, the headline, just first of all, stresses what Tinubu has always been trying to let Nigerian citizens know. And I want to reiterate it because most times we put we'll put our guns pointed at the president, not knowing that he's not to blame for everything. He literally, yes, the ball falls on his table as federation, but in terms of fiscal responsibility, okay, money is shared out because as a federation, we share money to the federation, to the states and local governments. In the meantime, the states are still bullying the local government. So it's more like a 50-50 share between the federal government and the states, right? So state governors are powerful. Now, what this article is saying is that from 2024, it was at 3.42 trillion due to the low crude earnings and some of the insecurity that was taking place at that time, right? And then the outcome, but with the outcome of the what I call it, the subsidy removal, as well as the FX harmonization with the official markets, what it meant was that our naira was devalued, and anytime crude improved, which it has done, okay, which is what we're now seeing from 342 as of 342 trillion last year. For this Q1 quarter, that's January, February, March, we're getting about 4.95. That's almost 5 trillion that is being shared. Now, the article, this is coming not just from crude, but it also comes from non-oil earnings like tariffs, taxes, customs duties, VAT, AMTL. Okay. Now, what it says is that they shared about 1.7 in January, about 1.67 in February, and about 1.57 in March. Now, yes, you did ask the question, where is this money going to? Now, this is one of the reasons why most times we don't put a lot of pressure on the what do you call it? The fiscal authority. That's Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy. He's the one that should take the beating, the pressure. He's the one that needs to communicate to Nigerians this money that is being shared, where does it go to, and is there fulfillment? That's at the federal level, okay? Now, the other 50%, short of the 13% derivation, that goes to the state governors. If your state governor is not talking, you need to hold the neck of your Commissioner of Finance. Most people don't know who the Commissioner of Finance is. All we shout is, we need to find the one for Lagos. All we know right now is Sanwo-Olu. We need to find the Commissioner of Finance and ask him, where does this money that you've received freely from Abuja, where is it going to? What projects are receiving it? How is it being shared? We just heard about the Minister of Education, of how they were sharing what they had within their budgets, even though it's a paltry sum, it can't really go too far. And these things need to be said so that as a people, especially in your state government, you can agree with your state government. This little money that we're getting, which is more than what you got last time, are we going to push it towards agriculture? Are we going to push it towards security? Are we going to push it towards health, education, roads? But you need to know what is coming in so that you can hold them to account. It's important that Nigerians understand how government operates and who is in charge. The finance ministers literally, I mean, the finance commissioners, especially at the state level, pending whenever the Supreme Court is able to implement the direct line charge to local governments, you need to be holding your finance commissioners at the neck. Where is this money going to? How is it going to reach my doorstep? How am I going to fill the imports so that we'll know where we're not getting enough? Because clearly, I'm not saying it's all that will take care of everything for everybody, but at least it's going to make a difference. So it's not just shouting Tinubu Shetima on a daily basis. What is your state governor doing? And where do we need to work in line with the private sector to boost the revenues that we're earning? No country, um, no country grows substantially, especially through infrastructure, just on the revenue that comes from the states. Do you understand?
Indeed.
You need a what I call it, a very basic, lean, simple strategy of working with the state governments as well as the private sector to improve your lot. It's important.
Bearing that in mind, Devoe, just very, very quickly because we need to jump into the next story. Bearing what you just said in mind, I know I was thinking about that before you actually mentioned it. This model of revenue allocation and sharing and so on and so forth, clearly it has made state governments, local governments completely complacent. How sustainable is
No,
this
I don't.
model?
I don't think it's complacent. It doesn't take care of everything. The point is, it's the state government. The government is not going to check itself. Citizens need to be the one asking questions, putting them under pressure. Okay, now we hear money has been shared. Well, money is shared monthly, right? This is just a record of what happened in Q1. What do you do with it? Once in a while, you hear, and this is why we cry about opposition parties. We no longer have credible, virile opposition parties that can be screaming and shouting and holding the ruling parties in check. So that's even at the federal level. At the state level, where's the nearest PDP state? That's Oyo, right? Oyo is a PDP state, or is it Oshun? You need the opposition, or as well as the citizens, asking questions. What have you done with what has come to you? What has it built? Where has it gone to? A town hall is different. Yes, get your governors and his host of commissioners to be holding monthly town halls. That's what they paid for, to be telling you, look, we said we would build. I have to let's say it. I mean, let's give honor to who is due. you have to give Nelson Wike, the FCT minister, his flowers. Whether he uses his town hall meetings to play a bit of politics, but at least he's always updating his constituency, which is now the Federal Capital Territory, about their earnings, about what they intend to do, what they have done, right? Hello, are you there? Let's give them flowers when it is due. And then they know, they can see, oh, we've built road, we've built train, we're getting the Agboros off the streets, we're introducing something for land reform. You got to give him flowers. Communication is everything to democracy.
Communication is everything to democracy. Very, very important there. Let me take a message or two before I come back to you, Lakunle. Tony Marine Beach says, I haven't sacked these individuals. We probably expect to see the Folorunsho, Oluyemi, and Coyotes of this world announced as replacement. And who cares? What matters is for them to perform their functions faithfully and sincerely for Nigerians and not for politicians. On defections, we run such a democracy where politicians defect from a house of crisis, supposedly, but want to go with the crisis regalia to another party. We have a big problem here to be addressed. However, it's good for the electorate to see the sinners moving to one camp, as that will spare them the guerrilla warfare we wait for in 2027. Idumapuza in Surulere says, do I hear people saying that the PDP's defection is... That's not what we're actually talking about this morning, Idumapuza, but thank you for your message. This is Guru, if I'm correct, says, please, what exactly is Lakunle saying? That the 2027 election is done already, and we know the winners and ministers. Please, we should not also encourage these people who campaign on the need to finish what they started. Let us not be part of the problem in this country.
Can I quickly respond to that? What I said was that I said, hopefully, and if it happens that they will still be the people in government. I didn't say they will be. And I said that because I wanted to drive a point about measuring where we will be. We have a penchant for when a new government comes, it cancels everything the previous government has done. So it's on that basis that message was passed. It should not be misrepresented or misinterpreted to mean anything else.
All right, thank you for clearing that up, Lakunle. And let's quickly jump into the Daily Trust here, where telecom operators in the country have said the security agents rather that operators should be asked why kidnappers and bandits using registered SIM cards to commit crimes have not been apprehended. Now, speaking at a colloquium on legislative agenda, the Nigerian Communications Act 2023, organized by the House of Representatives Committee on Communications and the Nigerian Communications Commission in Lagos yesterday, the chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria, ALTON, that's Engineer Gbega Adebayo, said the telcos have always been providing needed and necessary information to security agents when they ask. So the question now is that these security agencies, what are they doing with the information that they receive, or don't they even ask for it in the first place?
If you ask me, now who I go ask? the government have told us, the pain each and every one of us go through in registering those SIMs. If you lose your SIM today, you probably will spend a whole day to get it back. It's even easier to just go and buy a new SIM and register than to reclaim a SIM that you lost. Because when you buy a new one, you don't need a court affidavit. You don't need anything. Just go there and you are gone. This one, you need to get a court affidavit, So if people go through all that stress to have these things done, and this is now, I think this is now a time that because the ALTON, that's the Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators, now say that they cannot keep quiet anymore, right? That's why Engineer Adebayo had come out to say, look, when they ask, we give. Now, the person who can answer this question or who can refute or affirm this allegation, I'd rather call it allegation now, is the security agencies. It would have been nice to know also if it mentioned examples, or if it did at that conference, but this report did not mention it, to mention examples of when the security agencies have asked and when they have given, and they would have been able to relate these things properly. So it comes back to what we always said, that we're spending so much on security and we're seeing little results. This thing of geolocation information will probably help solve a lot of other problems that can help security agencies to anticipate attacks rather than react. Even when they react, they could be able to use this. Remember some years ago, the bandits, the terrorists, the armed robbers, the kidnappers were targeting telcos infrastructure because they knew that those things would help to locate them wherever they are, and then so it also comes back as a maybe probably unrelated for those of us who have used SIMs that we are no longer using, to attempt to go to the telcos and get our names and details of those SIM numbers as well. Because eventually, because I understand that some of these these numbers are recycled. If I lose a SIM and I don't over a time, they assign it to somebody else. Exactly. I think this also is a time when we hear this kind of thing, affirmation, we should make all attempts to remove our details from such numbers so that when things like this happen, we don't get caught in the middle of it. Now, it is the security, and this is an indictment on all our security agencies, that this has been said in the presence of lawmakers, and would expect lawmakers not just to hear this. I would expect them that they should pick it up and make it an agenda in their next sitting, and come up with something to make the security agencies accountable for what they have done with the information that the telcos have always given them. Because I know in my mind that it is very, very possible to anticipate these attacks if and when you have this kind of information. Even when the event had happened, it helps you to plan against it next time. You can draw a pattern. Right. Where this happens most, so I need to have so and so in such places. I mean, that's what it is. I think that the government, the lawmakers should compel security agencies to show that they actually work with these things, and it is not it is not for cosmetic reasons only.
All right, thank you so much. Let me take a message or two because we need to call it a morning on the show. Gilbert Musa in Festac says, on the change of leadership in the three refineries mentioned, let us ask ourselves the reason our refineries have not met output requirements despite intelligent minds that we have in the Nigerian oil industry. Lack of sincerity is the silent bane of not just the oil industry, but other sectors that have failed to deliver their respective service to the average Nigerian. JP says, it's the way to go. Rejig and drive efficiency. Look at the refineries critically as value, not cost centers. And important to know why so much was spent with little output. Cheers to you as well, JP. Let me take this on YouTube. This is Miriam Juma says, I agree with Lakunle. When companies train staff that is graduate trainees, the trainees sign a 2-year contract with an increased salary. I think the government should have a policy in place. All right, we need to go. Thank you for all the messages, and thank you for keeping it tuned. Thank you, Devoe and Lakunle, for joining me this morning.
No, good.
All right, Lakunle, thank you so much. You're muted, Lakunle.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for congratulating me earlier.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I will not repeat that again. We need to go. All right, keep it to the Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere. 8:15. We're going to get into the locker room. It's going to be an interesting morning. Want to find out why? Don't go anywhere. Keep it tuned.
Devoe,